Let's start with a simple question. What is multilingualism? Everybody understands within a certain geographical area there are people who speak different languages. Therefore, this means the ability of a person to master more than one language. And there was a Barcelona meeting of the Council in 2002, and there the decision was that each and every citizen of Europe should know not only the mother tongue, but at least two more others. Multilingualism, as you see, exists. The objective of the European Commission, however, is extremely ambitious given the current circumstances. Speaking of the policy of an organization, you know very well that our first commissioner was Mr. Orban, who dealt with multilingualism. The legal background is Regulation 1 of 58 of the Council, which said that all the European legislation, the regulations, directives, and everything else of general applicability should be translated in all the official languages of the EU. Then the Treaty on the Functioning of the EU specifies clearly that each and every European citizen can contact the European institutions in the mother tongue and will receive the answer in the mother tongue. And here is where the translator gets in the problem. As Mr. Piperidis was saying, the language of Europe, quoting from Umberto Eco, the language of Europe is translation. How can we involve the citizens in the process? They themselves should contribute to the construction, opening, and legitimacy of the European Union. They don't need to know all of them and speak English. If everything were to happen just in English, things would be extremely complicated. We started with 4 official languages. At the time, it was relatively easy, but in 2013, 24 official languages exist. Once Croatia also was accepted as a member. But the number of translators didn't go up exponentially just as the number of languages. Practically, we have language departments for each official language. I am a member of the Romanian language department, and we translate in all the fields in which the Commission has legislative initiative. And you have some examples: cooperation, development, energy, research, environment, food safety. In practice, what does this mean? 552, no more, no less than 552 linguistic combinations. All translators in the European institutions, 4,300 and around 1,000 interpreters. There is obviously a clear-cut distinction made between translators and interpreters who do the oral communication and rendering of the message. In the Commission, we translated 2.3 million pages in 2014. In Romanian, 3.66. In Romanian, 84,180 pages. Of course, the volume, as you see, is huge. The amount is huge. We have to outsource. There are tenders and contracts afterwards signed with companies that operate in the field of translation. Of course, we use a whole range of tools, terminology databases, IATE and EURLEX. We also use a translation memory of the Commission, which is gigantic, it's huge, as well as the automated translation system, MT at EC. The cost is just €2 per citizen per year. Very, very low cost, as you see. But you will see that we need to develop the technologies further on. And here we can say that huge efforts were made in the programs of research and development. within programs 6 and 7 for research and development that will cover the timeline until 2020. The automated translation system that we'll speak about throughout the day was made available to all civil servants, public officials in the public administrations of the EU. Everybody wanting access to a document can uses this system, but the respective document needs to be post-edited by translators. This system is used by us within the assisted system Trados ED 2014. Also, the European Union supports the implementation of mature linguistic technologies via the program entitled CEF in order to connect Europe. This mechanism for interconnecting Europe covers the timeline 2014-2020, and it has a component which is CEF Digital, infrastructure of digital pan-European services, e-justice, e-healthcare, electronic public procurement, etc. Another very important objective is to consolidate the digital single market. Even a communication was published in 2015, a communication of the Commission on the digital single market. There are lots and lots of difficulties and barriers. 90% of the European consumers prefer the sites presented in their mother tongue. 82% of the 4,000 shops online are monolingual, and 40% of the internet users never buy products and services online unless they are offered in another language but the mother tongue. So the linguistic barriers are the most visible, obviously, from these statistical data. These linguistic barriers exist both in the private companies and in the public administration. We would like to provide pan-European digital services, but the major difficulty is that we don't have a lingua franca. I told you that 90% of the web users prefer the services, the online services, in their own language, in their mother tongue. And the volume of texts is simply huge. So human translation is not always a solution. The online automated translation systems do not cover all language combinations, especially for the smaller languages, and they are not safe on the and on Google Translate. We cannot introduce data that refers to the health state of a patient. It's a matter of confidentiality. Part of the solution is precisely this platform that Mr. Piperides already mentioned. And the purpose is which? Well, the main purpose, the main objective is to provide the digital services available to all the EU citizens, irrespective of their language skills or the language they are operating in. Via the automated translation, the exchange of information would be facilitated between the public administrations cross-border. And the role that we have to play is to feed the system, provide enough material so that the machine translation system is more performant and has better results. In other words, answer better your needs. And we know best, we the member states, we know which is the acceptable quality level for us and which are our needs. So the involvement and the support of the member states are key elements in the success of this platform. The advantages, first and foremost, the services are free of charge. They come for free. The CEF program covers the timeline 2012 or 2020. You can translate documents, text messages. You can facilitate via automated translation huge volumes of information and knowledge. The Romanian companies would have a lot to gain because then they could take part in tenders organized in other member states of the EU, and the Romanian citizens could have access to information in their own language. For instance, if they want to get medical help outside of Romania, then they could get information concerning those services outside of Romania in Romanian. Thank you for your attention, and I wish you every success in the seminar.